Yo, what's going on YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte. We are taking a look today at the Pittsburgh Penguins. We've heard some rumors about the Penguins, what their needs and wants are going into the 2021 NHL trade deadline. We'll be taking a look at that in this video. If you guys like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL, especially as we get closer to the 2021 NHL trade deadline, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up, and even bigger, subscribe down below, and let's take a look at the Pittsburgh Penguins. So, according to multiple sources around the league, we've heard from hockey insiders that the Pittsburgh Penguins are looking to add some grit and size to their roster. So the question is, who are some of the guys that they will be taking a look at? And some of those names we'll be looking at today. So let's say your armchair general manager, right? You have your general manager, Brian Burke, as well as Ron Hextall. So what do you do if you're the Pittsburgh Penguins? So we're heading out to New Jersey for the first one. And that is Kyle Palmieri. He's the only unrestricted free agent guy on this list. Now, he's going to come in at the cheapest, which is good, especially for a team like Pittsburgh that doesn't want to give up top-tier prospects or assets in terms of a draft pick. So maybe this is the most realistic trade for the Pittsburgh Penguins, especially with where they are in the standings. This isn't a team that's necessarily guaranteed to make the postseason this year, and especially with where their situation lies with their draft pick. Minnesota has their draft pick, so it's not lottery protected this year. That was last year's pick. Their pick will be going to Minnesota this year. And if Pittsburgh misses the postseason this year, they could potentially be giving up a lottery draft pick to the Minnesota Wild. And that could really hurt things for the Pittsburgh Penguins. So they have to make sure they get in the postseason this year. And that's why they truly believe they are a buyer. So Kyle Palmieri seems to make sense. Now we're heading out to Arizona for two guys in particular that I think add a little bit more spark than a guy like Kyle Palmieri. And this is not a knock on Kyle Palmieri, but these guys have more with them. Now, one more thing I do want to mention. I believe Brian Burke did have Kyle Palmieri in Anaheim. So I think there is a little bit of a connection there. We could see that work. Just wanted to mention that. So now the two guys in Arizona. You got Lawson Crouse. I think Lawson Crouse is a great addition. He's got one more year left after this season on his contract. He's a really fast guy, considering he's 6'4", 215 pounds. He is a very talented skater, fast skater. I think he would draw a lot of interest from a team like Pittsburgh. He could fit into their top line unit and play really well. I think he could, be that guy in front of the net, kind of the replacement to Patrick Hornquist, which despite losing Patrick Hornquist, if they got a guy like Lawson Crouse, he could fill that role back for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Moving on to another guy in Arizona, and this is a guy I don't know why, but I have this really, I don't know what to call it, this, bromance for Christian Fischer. Christian Fischer, a former first-round pick of the Arizona Coyotes, a top 10 pick coming out of the OHL back in the day. Christian Fischer has just not gotten that spark going. He's had it at points, but he's never really gotten it in Arizona. Kind of reminds me a lot of a Max Domi, a power forward who is supposed to score goals and just seems to struggle in Arizona. I think a guy like Christian Fischer could be that guy. Christian Fischer also, like Lawson Crouse, has one more year left after this season on his contract, so they have the rest of the season to decide whether he works or not, plus they have next year. So the question really comes down to Pittsburgh. Are we willing to give up maybe more assets for a guy that we can have another year out of? Or is it worth, getting a third and a fifth for Kyle Palmieri and calling it a day? That's kind of where Pittsburgh has to figure out where they stand right now. So I really like Christian Fischer. I think this is a guy that should definitely be looked at by the Pittsburgh Penguins. Again, kind of that replacement to Patrick Hornquist in front of the net, especially on the power play, deflecting pucks, screening the goaltender. That's where guys like Lawson Crouse and Christian Fischer fit in really well for a potential trade with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now we're staying on the West Coast for this next team, and that is the San Jose Sharks' Timo Meyer. Now, I know the fans out in San Jose, don't trade Meyer. What are you talking about? It is a long shot trade, but the fact that where the Sharks are in the standings and their cap situation, it would not surprise me in the slightest if they did trade away a guy like Timo Meyer. Now, again, they're lacking offensive scoring, so do you want to trade that? to get, salary cap space. What are you getting the salary cap space for? To bring in another guy that is that guy. So it's kind of a tough situation. But Timo Meyer would really help the Pittsburgh Penguins. Again, that same Patrick Hornquist-esque guy. But honestly, he's probably the best name on this list. That's probably the reason why the San Jose Sharks are probably the least likely to get this trade done, because why would they trade a guy like Timo Meyer, right? Another guy that we're taking a look at on the West Coast, we're staying in California, and we're looking at the Los Angeles Kings, Dustin Brown. Former captain of the Los Angeles Kings, Dustin Brown has one more year left after this season on his contract. And I think he would definitely draw the interest of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now, we've heard a lot of ties about Dustin Brown to the New York Islanders, but he may go down to the road to the division rival in Pittsburgh as well. Now, the thing is, this is a guy in Dustin Brown where salary is a big thing. And does Pittsburgh have enough? Because we know a couple months ago they were talking about how they may need to do a cap crunch. Do they really want to make a move where they're, bringing in a guy with a heavy salary? But the question is, if they take the salary and maybe they don't have to give up as many assets because you're helping out LA by moving out that contract. So there is something to consider there. This trade could actually work. I think Dustin Brown, again, all these guys really fit that mold of what Patrick Hornquist was in Pittsburgh, really on that second line with Evgeny Malkin. That's the kind of guy that you're looking to replace, and I really think all these guys on this list can fit that bill quite well. Now we're heading to the East Coast as we are looking at the Ottawa Senators' Connor Brown. He's got 2 more years left after this season on his contract. Now, supposedly Pierre Dorion has hung up the phone on, potential trades with Connor Brown, but teams have still been asking, and you wonder if the price tag was good enough by Pittsburgh. Would they consider making that trade? There may be a connection here as well. Connor Brown may not have been a draft pick of Brian Burke when he was in Toronto. So there may be a little bit of a connection there. I don't know if a deal works necessarily, but it's something you have to at least keep your eyes open to. And then staying on the East Coast, this is the last guy I'm looking at. Again, kind of seems like a long shot, but everybody has been considered a movable asset in Detroit except Dylan Larkin, the captain. He's the only untouchable. So if that's the case, that means Anthony Matha, a power forward who's got a couple years left on his contract, just signed a 6 or 7 year deal with the Detroit Red Wings. How would Anthony Matha fit with Pittsburgh? Now, we know back a couple years ago when Matha was a pending restricted free agent, that Pittsburgh was one of the teams that was really keying in on a guy like Anthony Matha. Are they still interested in Matha with the new Brian Burke and Ron Hextall, management? I don't know, but I wouldn't be necessarily shocked if we saw that rumor mill kind of swirl back toward a guy like Anthony Matha. So out of all these guys, we're going to do with who do I think is the most realistic option and who do I think is the best option. So best option, absolutely, hands down, is Timo Meyer. But the problem is I don't see the Sharks trading him away. He's a guy that they are looking for more of. So trading a guy like Timo Meyer definitely sets back the San Jose Sharks. I just don't think, unless you're trading a guy like Samuel Poulin and a second-round pick, I don't think they're even going to get a sniff at a guy like Timo Meyer. Maybe even next year's first and Samuel Poulin, with how Poulin has kind of fallen off over the last year. So it's going to be a price tag that's going to be quite high. It may even be more than that for Timo Meyer. That's kind of seeming like the price right now for a guy like Taylor Hall, who is a rental. So Timo Meyer may be a first, a second, and, a guy like Samuel Poulin, and maybe even another asset with that. Who do I think is the most realistic option? I'm looking at Devils' Kyle Palmieri and the LA Kings' Dustin Brown because of their situations. Palmieri is going to be cheap because he is a pending unrestricted free agent that has struggled with the New Jersey Devils. And Dustin Brown makes sense because he's going to be cheaper in terms of assets for Pittsburgh. Not necessarily on the cap, but in terms of actual value. You could probably get Dustin Brown for a second and a third, or maybe even just a second and a fourth. I mean, the thing is, LA is moving out salary, and if they're looking to do that with Dustin Brown, they can absolutely do that, but they may not get the assets that maybe they could have gotten for Dustin Brown when he signed that contract pen to paper back in 2012. So guys, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. What do you think of the Pittsburgh Penguins adding grit and size to their roster here before the trade deadline? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And if you guys like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL, you guys know what to do. Make sure to give this video a big thumbs up, and even bigger, subscribe down below. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.